Ryan's office revenge.
Did you even read the dress code? The VP's daughter sneered on her first day, waving the handbook, "You're fired." In the lobby, the one-born 8B investor hugged me. "Ready to sign the merger?" he asked. I smiled. "Sorry, she just fired me." "No deal." He turned to her with cold eyes. "You did what?" "Let me back up and tell you how we got there. The name's Wesley Garrett, but everyone calls me Wes. I'm 49 years old, and I spent 18 years climbing the ladder at Riverside Corp. Before that, I put in 6 years with the Navy, seeing more of the world than most people do in a lifetime. That Tuesday morning started like any other, except it was the day before the biggest merger in our company's history. I was sitting in my corner office on the 35th floor, rotating my Navy tie clip between my fingers. It's a habit I picked up somewhere along the way, probably during those long strategy sessions when admirals would debate fleet movements for hours. The clip belonged to my grandfather, who served in World War II. He never talked much about the war, but he wore that clip every day to his job at the Detroit steel mill until the day he retired. My daughter Emma's college application was due in 2 months, and Northwestern wasn't getting any cheaper. The merger bonus from this Crawford Industries deal would cover her tuition with plenty left over. Maybe even enough to help some other military kids get their shot at higher education. That's the kind of thing you think about when you're pushing 50 and realize your legacy isn't just about climbing corporate ladders anymore. The Crawford Industries deal was my baby from conception to what should have been delivery. 18 months of careful negotiations, relationship building, and technical due diligence. I'd flown to Chicago 7 times, spent countless hours on video calls with their technical teams, and built the kind of trust that makes billion-dollar deals actually happen. Anthony Crawford, the CEO, was old school in the best way possible. He respected people who earned their stripes, not folks who inherited their corner offices. That's probably why we clicked from day one. I had everything mapped out like a military operation. The Montana facility transfer complete with environmental impact assessments that took me 3 months to coordinate. The intellectual property licenses that required me to understand patent law better than most lawyers. The employee retention packages that would keep their key people happy during the transition. All of it lived in my head and a locked filing cabinet that only I had the key to. Sure, there were digital copies floating around the server, but the real details, the handshake agreements and verbal commitments that make billion-dollar deals actually work, those existed nowhere but in my conversations with Crawford. The morning was going smoothly until I heard the knock on my door. 2 sharp raps, perfectly timed, like someone practicing military precision but getting it slightly wrong. That's when Cassandra Whitfield walked into my office without waiting for permission. Cassie was 24 years old and armed with an MBA from Daddy's alma mater. She'd probably never worked a real job in her life, never had to earn anything through sweat or sacrifice. Her father, Theodore Whitfield, was our VP of operations, which somehow qualified her to be his chief of staff. It was a made-up title for a made-up job. But nepotism has a way of creating its own logic in corporate America. It was her first day, literally her first hour in the building, and she was already making rounds like a general inspecting troops. She knocked exactly twice and entered without waiting for permission. Military training kicks in at moments like these, and I sized her up immediately. Expensive suit that probably cost more than most people make in a month. Designer handbag that screamed trust fund baby. That particular brand of confidence that comes from never being told no, never facing real consequences, never having to prove yourself to anyone who matters. She was carrying the employee handbook like it was some kind of sacred text, the kind of person who thinks rules exist to be enforced rather than understood. "Mr. Garrett," she said, not bothering with pleasantries like "good morning" or "how are you?" Just straight to business, which would have been admirable if the business actually mattered. "We need to discuss your compliance with company dress standards." I looked down at my navy blazer, pressed khakis, and leather shoes. Everything was regulation, professional, appropriate for a senior executive meeting with billion-dollar clients. I'd been dressing like this for 18 years without a single complaint from anyone who actually mattered. "I'm sorry, what seems to be the issue?" That she pointed at my tie clip with the kind of disgust most people reserve for roadkill. Naval insignia is not approved corporate jewelry, and that briefcase is clearly distressed leather, which projects an unprofessional image to our clients. The briefcase was a gift from my ex-wife when I made senior VP 5 years ago. It was genuine leather that had aged beautifully, developing character through use rather than sitting pretty on a shelf. The leather was worn because I'd carried it through 1,000 meetings, closed 100 deals, and built relationships that kept this company profitable quarter after quarter. The tie clip was my grandfather's legacy, a reminder of service and sacrifice that went deeper than any corporate dress code could ever reach. Ms. Whitfield, I said, keeping my voice level the way they taught us in the Navy when dealing with superior officers who didn't know what they were talking about. I'm meeting with Anthony Crawford tomorrow morning to finalize the largest acquisition in Riverside's history. This tie clip and briefcase aren't the priority here. Her face flushed red like she'd been slapped. She wasn't used to pushback, especially not from someone she'd decided to target. In her world, people probably scrambled to accommodate her every whim, apologize for things they hadn't done, bent over backward to avoid Daddy's displeasure. "I'm the VP's chief of staff," she announced, throwing around a title that everyone knew was meaningless. "I'm enforcing standards. If you can't follow basic dress code policies, how can the board trust you with major transactions?" That's when I knew this wasn't really about dress codes or corporate standards. This was about establishing dominance on day one. She'd picked me because taking down a senior VP would send a message to everyone else in the building. Look what the new sheriff can do. Look who's really in charge now. In the Navy, we had a saying about officers who'd never seen real action but thought they knew everything about warfare. We called them parade ground admirals. They could recite regulations word for word, tell you the proper way to fold a flag or inspect a uniform, but they'd never navigated choppy waters or made decisions when lives were on the line. They confused process with competence, rules with results. "Remove the non-compliant items and provide a written apology to HR," she commanded, her voice getting shrill. Immediately, I rotated the tie clip one more time, feeling the worn metal under my fingers. My grandfather had worn this through 30 years at the steel mill, through layoffs and labor strikes, through the decline of American manufacturing. He'd never backed down from a fight worth having, but he'd also never wasted energy on fights that didn't matter. This one mattered. "No," I said simply. "Excuse me." I said, "No, I have work to do." The silence that followed was pregnant with possibility. She could back down, admit she'd overplayed her hand, find some face-saving way to retreat, or she could escalate this into something neither of us could take back. She chose escalation. "You're fired." The words came out like she'd been practicing them in the mirror, trying to get the tone just right. Effective immediately. "Security will escort you out." I looked at her for a long moment, studying her face the way you study an opponent before a chess match. She was young, inexperienced, drunk on borrowed power, but she was also the VP's daughter, which meant she had protection I didn't. In a fair fight, experience beats youth 9 times out of 10, but corporate politics aren't fair fights. "All right," I said, standing up slowly, "you're the boss." She blinked, clearly expecting a bigger fight. Maybe she wanted me to argue, to give her more ammunition for whatever story she'd tell about why she had to fire the insubordinate senior executive. But I'd learned long ago that sometimes the best response to stupidity is calm acceptance. Let people dig their own graves. "That's right," she said, trying to regain her momentum. "Pack your things." I opened my desk drawer with deliberate precision, like I was defusing a bomb rather than cleaning out a workspace. The first item was my personal cell phone, the one with numbers that weren't on any corporate directory, including one number I'd hoped never to use in a situation like this. Anthony Crawford had given me his private line 2 years ago when we first started discussing potential partnerships between our companies. "Call me direct if you ever need anything," he'd said over dinner at an expensive steakhouse. "Skip the corporate nonsense and the layers of middle management. Sometimes business needs to happen between people who trust each other." While Cassie watched with the satisfaction of a predator enjoying a kill, I walked to my filing cabinet and removed exactly 3 items. My grandfather's photo in its simple black frame, a baseball from Emma's high school graduation, signed by her entire softball team with messages about believing in yourself and never giving up, and a locked leather portfolio that contained Anthony Crawford's private contact information and several handwritten notes from our negotiations. The rest could stay. The corporate awards, the team photos, the motivational plaques that HR handed out like candy. 18 years of loyalty reduced to 3 personal items that actually mattered. "Mr. Garrett," my assistant Susan said as I walked past her desk. She'd been with me for 6 years, knew my schedule better than I did, had probably figured out what was happening from the commotion in my office. "Is everything okay?" "Everything's fine," Susan, I said, making sure Cassie could hear every word. "Miss Whitfield is in charge now. I'm sure she'll handle the Crawford meeting beautifully tomorrow." Susan's face went pale. She understood the implications immediately. But the merger documentation, the transition protocols, the relationship management. "I'm confident Ms. Whitfield has reviewed all the materials thoroughly," I continued, my voice carrying just enough sarcasm to make the point without crossing any lines. "She seems very detail-oriented, very focused on what really matters." The security guard who came to escort me out was Torres, a fellow veteran who'd done 2 tours in Afghanistan before finding his way to corporate security. We'd shared coffee and war stories plenty of times over the years, bonding over the shared experience of military service and the sometimes surreal transition to civilian corporate life. He kept apologizing under his breath as we walked to the elevator, clearly uncomfortable with the whole situation. "Don't sweat it, Torres," I told him, meaning every word. "You're just doing your job, following orders from the chain of command." "Still doesn't feel right, sir," he muttered as the elevator doors opened. "Sometimes the right thing and the smart thing aren't the same thing," I said. "You've got a family to feed, I understand." In the lobby, I turned back to see Cassie watching from the 35th floor windows, probably feeling pretty good about herself. The ruthless new executive who cleaned house on day one. The daughter who proved she could be just as tough as daddy. What she didn't know was that she just fired the only person in the building who understood Anthony Crawford's negotiating style, his company's real priorities, and the dozens small concessions that had taken months to secure. I sat in my truck in the parking garage for exactly 5 minutes, rotating that tie clip and thinking through my options like a naval strategist planning fleet movements. The smart play was to call a lawyer, file a wrongful termination suit, make some noise about discrimination against veterans. The safe play was to update my resume, start networking, find another corporate position where I could rebuild what I'd lost. But there was a third option, one that required more courage than either of the first two. I pulled out my phone and dialed Anthony's private number. "Crawford here? Anthony, it's Wes Garrett from Riverside." "Wes, perfect timing. I was just reviewing the final terms for tomorrow's signing ceremony. My legal team says everything looks solid on our end. Should be a smooth closing. That's actually why I'm calling. There's been a development in our circumstances." The line went quiet for a moment. In my experience, when Anthony Crawford went quiet, he was processing information at lightning speed, calculating implications and potential responses like a chess grandmaster thinking 10 moves ahead. "What kind of development?" "I've been terminated about 30 minutes ago." Terminated? His voice sharpened with the kind of edge that made competing CEOs nervous. "By whom, for what cause?" "The VP's daughter, Cassandra Whitfield. Dress code violation." Anthony laughed, but it wasn't a pleasant sound. It was the laugh of a man who'd heard every kind of corporate stupidity imaginable and thought he'd become immune to surprise. "You're joking." "I wish I was. Apparently my navy tie clip and leather briefcase don't meet current corporate appearance standards." Wes, Anthony's voice had turned deadly serious. "You know, I don't do business with companies that make personnel changes this close to closing. It suggests fundamental instability in the decision-making process. It raises questions about who's really running the organization." "I understand completely. That's why I'm giving you advance notice." "Who's taking over the transition coordination? Who knows the technical details we've spent 18 months negotiating?" "Ms. Whitfield seems confident she can handle everything personally. The same person who fired you for wearing military insignia is now running a $1.8 billion transaction. That appears to be the current situation." There was another long pause, and I could practically hear the gears turning in Anthony's mind. He was a self-made man who'd built a manufacturing empire from nothing, someone who understood the value of loyalty and competence in ways that trust fund babies never would. "I see," he said finally. "Wes, I've been looking for someone to head up our strategic acquisitions division. We're expanding into new markets. Need someone who understands both the technical side and the relationship management aspects. The salary would be double what Riverside was paying you, plus stock options and full benefits. Any interest?" I felt something shift in my chest. Not relief, not excitement, but the quiet satisfaction of pieces falling into place according to a larger plan. Emma's college fund was secure. My future was secure. And Cassie Whitfield had just handed me the keys to destroying everything she thought she'd accomplished. "I'd need to start immediately," I said. "Consider yourself hired as of this conversation. Can you meet me for dinner tonight? We need to discuss how to handle tomorrow's meeting." "Because I'm still planning to show up, you're going through with the meeting?" "Oh, absolutely. I want to meet this person who thinks she can run a merger negotiation after being in the building for 1 hour. I want to hear her explain the technical details of a deal she's never seen, and I especially want her to explain why she told my legal team something that turns out to be a complete fabrication." "What did she tell your legal team?" "That you were hospitalized with severe exhaustion, but had provided comprehensive handover documentation before being admitted to intensive care." I nearly dropped the phone. The audacity was breathtaking, even by corporate standards. She'd turned my firing into a medical emergency to avoid triggering the key personnel clauses in our merger agreement. If a critical team member was unavailable due to legitimate health issues, the contract had provisions for delays and accommodations. But if someone was fired for cause, that opened the door for renegotiation or complete cancellation. She's buying time, I said, hoping to get you in the room and charm her way through the technical discussions. The problem is, Anthony said, and I could hear the grim satisfaction in his voice. I don't appreciate being lied to, especially about someone I trust, especially when that lie puts my company's interests at risk. We spent the next 2 hours over dinner at a quiet steakhouse downtown, going over every detail of the Crawford Industries deal. Anthony wanted to understand exactly what Cassie would and wouldn't know, which questions would expose her ignorance, and how to maximize the educational value of tomorrow's meeting. He was exactly what you'd expect from someone who'd built a manufacturing empire from scratch. Direct communication style, no patience for corporate games, and absolutely intolerant of incompetence masquerading as authority. I'm not just killing this deal, Anthony told me as we shook hands outside the restaurant. I'm making sure everyone understands exactly why it died. Your former colleagues need to learn that actions have consequences. The next morning, I positioned myself in a coffee shop across the street from the Riverside building. Anthony's instructions had been simple and precise: be visible. He wanted Cassie to see me healthy and clearly not hospitalized before the meeting started. He wanted her to understand that her lie was about to be exposed in the most public and humiliating way possible. At 8:45 a.m., I watched Anthony's black sedan glide up to the front entrance like a shark approaching wounded prey. He stepped out wearing a perfectly tailored suit and the expression of a man about to perform surgery with a very dull knife. I gave him 5 minutes to get inside and locate his targets, then crossed the street and entered the lobby where my corporate career had ended less than 24 hours earlier. The scene was exactly what I'd expected. Cassie was standing near the elevator bank with Peterson, our CFO, and 2 junior associates who looked like they'd rather be anywhere else in the world. She was gesturing frantically, clearly trying to conduct last-minute preparation for a meeting she was completely unqualified to handle. Then she saw me walking through the lobby doors. The blood drained from her face so fast I thought she might actually collapse right there in the marble lobby. She grabbed Peterson's arm and started whispering urgently, pointing in my direction like I was some kind of apparition that shouldn't exist according to her carefully constructed narrative. I walked over to the security desk where Torres was stationed and started chatting about his daughter's soccer season. Completely casual, completely visible, completely healthy for someone who was supposedly unconscious in intensive care. Mr. Garrett? Peterson's voice cracked slightly as he approached. What are you doing here? Just visiting an old friend, I said, nodding toward Torres. Beautiful morning for it, wouldn't you say? Cassie stepped forward, her composure completely shattered. The confident executive from yesterday had been replaced by a panicked amateur who just realized she was in way over her head. You're supposed to be in the hospital, she hissed. Hospital. I looked genuinely confused, playing my role to perfection. Why would I be in the hospital? Because you're sick, exhausted. I told Crawford's legal team yesterday that you were hospitalized with severe stress. That's interesting, I said, letting the words hang in the air because I feel fine. In fact, I feel better than I have in months. The elevator dinged with perfect timing, and Anthony Crawford stepped out into the lobby. He took one look at the scene unfolding in front of him and smiled. It wasn't a pleasant smile. It was the smile of a predator who just spotted wounded prey. Well, Anthony said, his voice carrying clearly across the lobby for everyone to hear. This is fascinating. Whitfield, would you like to explain why you told my legal team that Mr. Garrett was in intensive care? Cassie opened her mouth, but no sound emerged. Her carefully rehearsed explanations had evaporated in the face of obvious reality. Because he looks remarkably healthy for someone who's supposedly unconscious and fighting for his life. Peterson stepped in desperately, trying to salvage something from the wreckage. Mr. Crawford, there's been a misunderstanding. We can clarify everything upstairs in the conference room. No misunderstanding, Anthony said with surgical precision. Your representative deliberately lied to my board about a key personnel issue. She fired the project lead and then created an elaborate fiction to hide her incompetence from the people she was supposed to be negotiating with. Sir, please, we can resolve this, Peterson pleaded, sweat beading on his forehead despite the air conditioning. Wes is rehired effective immediately. Full reinstatement, promotion, signing bonus, whatever it takes. Anthony turned to me with theatrical curiosity. Wes, are you interested in returning to work for these people? I thought about my daughter's college fund, now secure thanks to Crawford Industries' generous offer. I thought about my Navy grandfather and the lessons he taught me about honor, integrity, and keeping your word. I thought about 18 years of loyal service ended by a 24-year-old who'd never earned anything meaningful in her entire privileged life. No, sir, I said clearly. I've accepted a position elsewhere, where Peterson demanded with the desperation of a drowning man. Crawford Industries, Anthony announced with obvious satisfaction. As of yesterday evening, Mr. Garrett is our new Director of Strategic Acquisitions. The silence that followed was the sound of a $1.8 billion deal evaporating into thin air. Now Anthony continued pleasantly, I believe we had a meeting scheduled to discuss merger finalization? Yes, absolutely, Peterson said, grasping at straws. Cassie has been fully briefed on all technical aspects of the transaction. Anthony turned to Cassie, who looked like she was about to be sick all over the marble floor. Ms. Whitfield, I'm curious about the Montana facility consolidation timeline. Can you walk me through the environmental impact mitigation strategy we developed? Cassie stared at him with the blank expression of a student who'd skipped class all semester and just realized the final exam was starting. The environmental strategy? Yes. It was a crucial negotiating point that took months to resolve. Surely you're familiar with the EPA compliance requirements and the phased implementation schedule. More silence, more sweating from Peterson. Or perhaps you can explain the intellectual property licensing arrangement for the secondary manufacturing processes. The royalty structure we agreed to? Cassie looked around desperately for help, but the information she needed existed only in my head and in handwritten notes that were now safely locked in Crawford Industries' offices. I see, Anthony said with mock disappointment. Well, this has been educational. Peterson, please have your legal team contact mine. We'll be withdrawing our acquisition offer effective immediately. Sir, wait, Peterson begged. We can bring Wes back. Full partnership track, equity stake. Name your terms. The time for personnel decisions was before you scheduled this meeting, Anthony said coldly, not after you got caught lying to the people you're supposed to be doing business with. He turned to me, ready to start your new career? Yes, sir. As we walked toward the exit, Cassie finally found her voice. This isn't over, she called after us. My father will hear about this. There will be consequences. Anthony paused and turned around slowly. Ms. Whitfield, your father just lost his company $1.8 billion because he couldn't control his daughter's ego and inexperience. I suspect he'll have quite a lot to say about that. We walked out into the bright morning sunshine, leaving behind the wreckage of Riverside Corp's biggest opportunity and Cassie's very short executive career. 3 weeks later, Crawford Industries announced the acquisition of Riverside's core assets for 30 cents on the dollar. Cassie had been quietly reassigned to special projects, which everyone in corporate America knows is polite code for unemployment with a transition period. Peterson took early retirement rather than face the board's questions about his judgment. Theodore Whitfield resigned in disgrace, his reputation permanently tarnished by his daughter's spectacular failure. And me, I'm doing just fine. Emma got into Northwestern with a full academic scholarship, but Crawford's generous signing bonus meant I could establish a scholarship fund for other military families' kids. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just getting even. Sometimes it's getting everything you wanted plus the satisfaction of helping others avoid the obstacles you faced. The Navy taught me that storms don't last forever, but skilled navigation makes all the difference. Corporate America isn't so different. When someone shows you who they really are on their first day, believe them. And when they try to destroy everything you've built through 18 years of loyalty and competence, make sure they understand exactly what they're giving up. Thanks for listening to my story. If you've ever dealt with entitled managers who mistake authority for competence, you know exactly how this felt. Sometimes justice takes time to arrive, but it always finds its target. And sometimes the people who think they're untouchable learn the hard way that respect is earned, not inherited.